Hey guys, today I wanted to talk to you about companion plants for zinnias. I had a request for this from a viewer and I thought this makes a really good subject, and I know a lot of other people would love to hear about it as well. So these are 16, and I may add a few more on at the end as I think about things. Companion plants for zinnias and how easy they are to grow. So yes, zinnias are one of the easiest flowers you can grow in your garden. And when you grow them alongside companion plants, it makes them even more special because these plants complement each other and help to create that lush, full look of the cottage garden that many of us love. Yes, the best companion plants for zinnias. They help extend the bloom period. They add texture and height. They attract pollinators. They soften the base of the taller plants. And by mixing flowers that bloom at different rates and times and grow in different forms, then you create a garden that feels natural, flowing, and colorful and alive from spring on through fall. So here are some of the best flowers I have grown in my garden with my zinnias. Some are just foliage, one or two, and then yeah, all together they create a cottage garden that is pollinator friendly. Number one, Verbena Bonariensis. I'm probably pronouncing that wrong, but you understand what I'm talking about. So these flowers for me are perennial. They readily reseed, and the beautiful lavender purple color really contrasted well with the orange zinnias I had in my garden, but they will go across the gamut. The pink shades, the purple shades, all the shades of zinnias. I liked how they were tall and ferny, swayed in the wind, so they never overpowered the zinnias, but they just complemented them beautifully. The butterflies would come in for them. I would see more butterflies on the Verbena than I did on the zinnias. So yeah, they help to kind of soften around the zinnias. Super easy to grow. I did mention it, I'll mention it again, and in my garden, self-seed readily. In the spring, I will dig up this little seedlings. You get to where you recognize seedlings, and then I put them throughout the garden in other spots. And the more you put together of the Verbena Bonariensis, then the lusher they look. And because they are so airy, sometimes planting like 3 or more together create more of a statement. So number 2 is petunias. Petunias are one of my favorite flowers. I do grow some from seed. I especially love the Wave brand petunias because of their habit. Also, they take my cooler temperatures better in the spring, and in the fall they can take a little bit of frost and still keep on going. So they make an excellent lower growing companion for zinnias, and they spill gently around. They act as a ground cover to choke out weeds, and they help soften the lower stems of the zinnias. Toward the end of the season, the zinnias can start looking a little ratty at the base, and the petunias help to disguise that. So gorgeous with them. All kinds of petunias. It's not just the Wave. You can just buy regular bedding petunias that mound, and they make a great area around it too. But the Wave petunias are more of a ground cover and they spread farther. So it depends on the look that you're going for. And there's different types of Wave petunias. I probably should do a whole thing on the different types of Wave petunias and how they behave. I should write that down while I'm thinking of it. All right, number 3 is Asters. Now, asters bloom later in the season, and I have this fuchsia pink one, and I have these lavender ones. And so they extend the garden season along with the zinnias, because the zinnias start later in the summer and bloom through the fall until the first frost, especially if you deadhead them. And so the asters, they pair alongside them. Also, some of my asters are shorter, some are taller, like they're a medium size compared to the zinnias. So it adds the different heights, so it kind of the layer in your garden. And asters really attract the pollinators. The bees really, really love them. I'm trying to think if I noticed any butterflies on them, and I can't remember, but yeah, I know the bees love them. Number 4, Crocosmia. You may find that one a little different, but the spiky leaves, the tubular flowers, they just bring in those dramatic vertical lines, and hummingbirds love them. They love the zinnias too, and when you pair them together, it just adds a nice contrast with the foliar shapes and even the flower shapes, because many of the zinnias are like flat or pom-pom shape, whereas the crocosmias are tubular. Crocosmias have been very easy to grow in my garden. They're little corms that you plant and they propagate themselves readily, so you get more and more. And you can dig them up, transplant them around your garden. And yes, they come in some beautiful warm colors. There's some yellow ones, orange ones, and the bright deep red one that I have the most of. I've started to find the other colors and I'm adding them to my garden. And yeah, I just think crocosmias just work great alongside the zinnias. They do not bloom as long as the zinnias, but they do complement them for a period of time and easy to grow. So 5, black-eyed Susans. Now the bright yellows go good with certain colors of the zinnias. They're easy to grow from seed. They, for me, they reseed readily. They're drought tolerant. But I was thinking of the Sahara mix ones that I had blooming in my garden last year. They're a soft, mellower yellow with tinges of pink and lavender in them. So I thought they would make a beautiful complementary plant with the zinnias if you grew them in pinks and purples. And then, yeah, going alongside. Now the Sahara mix Rudbeckia or black-eyed Susans were a little bit shorter, so they were like a medium-sized plant next to the taller zinnias. Now there are shorter zinnias too, but I'm thinking of the taller versions. So that is something I'm going to try this year, and I think they would go beautiful with the Purple Prince zinnias. And I have tons of those started, the Sahara Mex Rudbeckia. I started them this winter. And yeah, they're all pretty good size now. I need to go out in the garden as soon as this cold spell. We were having 3 days of cold, and then we're going back to 80 degrees here. That's our springs here in the mountains of California. But yeah, this morning it was 38 degrees. It was freezing cold. But so I think the black-eyed Susans, whether it's the bright yellow ones or the Sahara mix that are a little more subdued. There's also, I know that one's an Echinaceas. We'll get to that. I was thinking of another one in the garden, and yeah, we'll get to that later. So Cosmos have a lacier texture to the foliage, so they're a beautiful contrast with the zinnias. They grow probably about the same height, some of them. There are shorter growing ones. I particularly like the Sonata White. They are shorter, and the white really is a great offset to the more colorful zinnias. There's also white zinnias. The only zinnia I grew that I didn't like was called Green Envy or something. It was some green color. In my garden, it was not very pretty. In fact, I had no trouble in pulling it out, even though it was blooming away. I don't know why I didn't like it, but I'm sure some people have found it does beautiful in their garden. Now, I will say that your garden, your soil, can affect the color of your flowers. So that could have been what happened with mine. So, daisies. Now, the daisies don't always bloom at exactly the same time as my zinnias, though they add color and structure and beauty before. Now, I have one that is called Banana Cream, and it usually is still blooming when the zinnias are. I guess mine's the original. There's now a Banana Cream 2, which I don't know the exact difference between them. I should look that up, but I have the Banana Cream. When I bought it, I was looking for Daisy May because I've heard a lot of good things about that one. And that one does bloom a little bit later, or has in my garden, than my Crazy Daisies. I love Crazy Daisies. Now, the Crazy Daisies do beautifully alongside the zinnias. The ones that are real frilly and lacy and all of those things. And if they bloom and then I cut them back, they will rebloom a little more sporadically, not as lushly, but they do beautiful with the zinnias because the white, I love white offsetting other bright, colorful foliage, as well as the daisies reseed readily, and they come back year after year. Now zinnias, they're an annual. You seed them, they grow, and then they die. And then you have to reseed the next year. So having these other perennial flowers makes it well worth the effort that you go to start the zinnias, since you don't have to do anything with them. The perennials, if you already got them started. So that's why many of these are perennials in the garden, because you can actually switch out the colors of zinnias you use each year. You think, okay, I want orange this year. Next year I want purple. So it just kind of makes it nice to mix up the flower beds. But daisies, I vote for daisies because they're easy to grow from seed, especially I love the crazy daisies because you get so many forms of flowers with them. And it could be long petals, short petals, frilly petals, just all kinds. And they are gorgeous. So I love white in the garden. So I'm looking at my list. Number 8, hollyhocks. Hollyhocks, they have a completely different leaf shape. They're much taller usually than the zinnias, so you put them behind. They're a great backdrop to the zinnias. You can find colors that complement each other or the ones that look very much similar, all of the above. So others that contrast. The hollyhocks come in a wide range of colors. There's yellow, there's some that are so dark maroon they look black. There's peachy colors, there's pinks of all kinds, white. I love the white with the green center. That's one of my favorites for some reason. And yeah, so hollyhocks work very, very well. They're easy to grow from seed. Many of mine are perennial. Many are grown as biennials. So yes, that's another budget-friendly cottage flower that grows great with zinnias. Now, erodiums, also known as heron's bill. These are a great ground cover plant. They spread along the edge. They're very sedate in moving along. I have the white and pink. I'm not sure if there's more colors. I should look that up. And they're not always the easiest things to find. The nursery Green Acres, I have found some, the pink ones, in there. I've been having a harder time finding the white ones, so I've been propagating my own, but they make a great ground cover. They bloom all summer long, and as an edging around a zinnia bed or something, they are beautiful. They're drought tolerant, and they bloom in part shade. So some people, like in warmer or hotter zones, they find that afternoon shade, even for their zinnias, works best, so they don't get scorched. But if you haven't looked up or found erodiums before or tried them, please do give them a whirl. I have found them to be gorgeous, easy, and a great complement. Okay. 10, feverfew. Now I know some people will say, oh no, feverfew is invasive. I haven't found it to be so. In fact, I have feverfew that's like the little balls, like little, almost like baby's breath. So I have doubles, I have singles. It does reseed readily, very easy to pull up. It seems like they're shallow rooted, but that little delicate white flower that they produce and bloom, and you can cut them back to alter their height. I've done that where I've cut them back like this time of year, and then they've bloomed shorter. They can get like 3 feet tall if you want them a bit taller. They have ferny foliage. I just love that white dainty flower along with the zinnias, because it's kind of like adding that baby breath to a bouquet. It just adds that airy white backdrop or contrast with the zinnias that just, it enhances them beautifully. So Gaura, I love Gaura. The large white ones I haven't grown so much of because they do get so big. But with zinnias, they are a perfect complement because the white one is called whirling butterflies, I think is one of the names, because that's what it looks like when it blows in the wind and everything. So, but the dwarf Gauras that I enjoy are pink, and the bracts are like a burgundy. So they add that same movement and charm in the garden. They're a little bit shorter, but they just keep on blooming from summer all the way to fall without deadheading or any kind of maintenance. So if you're kind of wanting to cut back on plants that require deadheading to be beautiful, then maybe these Gauras would be up your alley. So yes, I just love the Gauras in the garden for their low maintenance. They do attract pollinators as well. I think most of these plants are pollinator friendly, very pollinator friendly. 12, Gomphrena. What makes Gomphrena perfect with zinnias? Well, they both love the summer heat, so they grow well together. At the same time, Gomphrena grow at a lower height, so they're like a medium-sized flower, whereas my zinnias, the tall ones, are the taller size. So you're getting the different layers in the garden. You can grow Gomphrena in white. I have a fuchsia pink. I have a pretty lavender I've grown. I know there's other like peachy colors. I haven't tried those. I need to try those. But yeah, the different texture of the Gomphrena really contrasts well. It attracts pollinators. You can dry it and all of the above. So it really makes it a great companion plant for your zinnias. I do have to grow it every year from seed. Many people find it reseeds for them. I don't, but a packet of seeds will get you tons of Gomphrena, and you're usually under $5, so it's also budget friendly. Hardy geraniums, number 13? Yes, 13. Hardy geraniums are one of my favorite garden flowers, garden perennials. Now, there are ones that get very large or larger. I have one called Tiny Monster. It does tend to get a little bushy. I just shear it back and it's fine. I had someone comment that said Tiny Monster was invasive. I did extensive research. It is not considered an invasive form of geranium, hardy geranium. There are other forms that are, so they might have mistaken the two. I will say that it can get larger, but as I stated, I just shear it back when it does that. It does have a tendency for me to flop, meaning it grows tall and then splays. That's okay. The shearing back works. Even when it's splaying, it's okay. It's kind of falling into an area that it doesn't matter. My favorite is Roseanne. It is a beautiful lavender blue and it scrambles along, and I have it next to an obelisk and it starts to climb up it. But beautiful with the zinnias because it does kind of act as a ground cover and the lower layer. Very easy to grow, comes back every year. The foliage is a great contrast color with the zinnia foliage. I also have one called Elkie that is more sedate. It's a deeper pink. It stays a little bit shorter and more compact if that's your desire. I have others, one called Patricia that gets very big. It's a fuchsia pink. Orion, which is similar to Roseanne. There's a lot of choices when it comes to hardy geraniums. Now, the ones that bloom the longest for me are Elkie and Roseanne so far in my garden. And so, yes, those are two beautiful complements. And the Roseanne, because it does scramble so far, it does block out weeds. And so most of these hardy geraniums do block out weeds. So they go along with a lot of my ground cover. I did a video on, I can't remember how many ground covers to use instead of mulch, and they all help feed the soil and help prevent weeds from spreading. So that makes them a good plant in the garden, even if you're not pairing them with your zinnias. So number 14, Echinacea. Echinacea, I love. They love the summer heat, just like the zinnias. You can grow the white ones, beautiful. They are drought tolerant. Most pests don't really like them. The only pest I have problem with is gophers love to eat them. So I plant them in cages, gopher cages. That means the roots are protected. And so, yeah, they just add a beautiful element along with the zinnias and are just as easy to grow. You can cut them like you do zinnias and continue the bloom on through the season. There's white ones. I love white swan and powwow white. And like with the daisies, my brain wants to go another direction. With the daisies, I love white contrasting with bright colors. And the white swan and the powwow white both do that. And they bloom after the daisies. So if you have the daisies blooming before and you have variety that don't rebloom well alongside your zinnias, then the echinaceas, the white echinaceas in there take their place. So they work very well. So 15, salvias. There's so many different salvias. Now the meadow sage, Nemorosa, salvias, they bloom sooner. You prune them back, they bloom again. They stay shorter in my garden. Then there's the Gregii. Those ones have an array of colors. I have several. I found last year and the year before, I had one particular color. It bloomed nonstop without deadheading. It was a hands-off plant. It loves the heat of summer. It thrives on low water, so drought tolerant. Now, Mystic Spires is another one I grow a lot of because I can take cuttings, and even if they don't overwinter out in my garden, which they usually do, when I take cuttings and I overwinter them here in the greenhouse, then I have more to plant out. And it's very easy to propagate. But Mystic Spires has these nice spiky blue flowers. They sway in the wind, and they're drought tolerant. They love the heat, and they do beautifully with the zinnias. So they will go with about any color of zinnias. And I have been suitably impressed with this Mystic Spires. I've tried other specialty ones like Rockin' the Blue and all those from Proven Winners, and they just didn't come back for me. They just didn't do as well. I don't know, maybe it's my cool nights that I have in summer or something. They just didn't perform as well as the Mystic Spires, which is usually readily available at a lot of garden centers. It's that popular of a plant, and for very good reason. It's very, very easy. So another thing, salvias, they bloom for a very long time right alongside the zinnias. So from the time the zinnias start all the way to the first frost, you're going to have salvia blooms. And it's great to have that long-lasting bloom time. 16, yarrow. Now, we're not talking about the invasive type that some people have said is invasive and spreads readily. I'm talking about the hybrids. Now, there's all kinds of colors I have grown in the yarrow. I have a video. Do I have a video? Maybe I have a blog post on it. And there is really a lot of colors. There's one called Cerise Queen that is like a fuchsia magenta color. There's the Colorado mix that has all these different colors. I think there was one called Summer Berries I grew one year. Yeah, I have an array of colors. My favorites are the whites and the pinks of the yarrow. And the flat surface of the flowers is a great place for pollinators to land. Loves the heat of summer right alongside the zinnias. The different ferny foliage really contrasts well with zinnias. So there's just a win-win-win with the yarrow. It grows very easily from seed. I have a video and a blog post on growing it from seed. There's 3 different ways I've grown it. I think that's the one. I've winter sown it. It will reseed itself. It's very discernible that germinate the seedlings. So if you don't want it in a spot, you can dig it up, transplant it, and or just get rid of it. So it's another very inexpensive plant because if you buy a packet, $4 or $5 packet of seeds, you'll have yarrow forever if it overwinters in your zone. I'm not sure. It overwinters in a wide range of zones. So yeah, yarrow is a perfect companion plant for zinnia. Now that was 16, and I said this was 16. And as I was going through this, I remembered another one that I always grow with zinnias, and that's Alyssum. So I should name this 17. I probably will when I put it up. 17 is Alyssum. Alyssum is fragrant. It starts blooming early in the season, so even before your zinnias do. It makes a great edging around the flower bed. Stays low, the white flowers. You can also grow it in purple. I think there's also some pinky shades. But I always get the white. I've grown it from seed. The seed that I have grown it from that I absolutely loved was Tiny Tim from Botanical Interests. And I'm pretty sure that's what it was called. Anyways, yes, it stays mounded. It doesn't get tall and lanky where you have to cut it back. Blooms nonstop. Very fragrant. Attracts hoverflies, parasitic wasps that help take care of bad bugs in your garden. And it is also a bee magnet. All of the above, and it just brings a beautiful scent to your garden. I just love it when a warm day you can smell it as you walk through the garden. So that is another fabulous companion plant for zinnias. Now, you know me, I love ground covers. I have an entire video on several different ground covers that you can grow in place of mulch. And yeah, any of those would work great around the edging of a zinnia bed or any flower bed. So go ahead, I'll link it in the description box below and watch that video. So mix it up. Like I said, you can have tons of things that make beautiful companion plants for your zinnias. So do experiment and find what works for you. All right, I know I got this way too long, but I don't care. I had a lot to say. So I will see you in my next video and we'll talk about something else.